Welcome to tonight's episode of This Fat Girl Life. I am your host, Kimberly, back again with you as always. And tonight we are going to be talking about failures. We all have them, happens to all of us, but it's what you do with that failure that counts. But before we get started, if you would like to support this broadcast and help me keep it going, all I ask is that you go over to buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. Now, all of y'all know me. You know, coffee is my happy place. It is my life force. It is life juice. Coffee keeps me happy, keeps me sane, keeps me out of jail. We like coffee. So if you go over to buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life, you can follow me there, no charge. And that's where you're going to find out some of the cool stuff that's going on, some of the upcoming projects, and that type of thing. But if you become a member for $5 a month, you're also going to get access to my guided journals free of charge as my thank you to you. And you're going to get some stuff that I don't post anywhere else that's just for members. So it's a pretty good deal. $5 less than Starbucks. You can't beat it. Buymeacoffee.com/, this fat girl life. So tonight I have Bethany with me. Thank you so much for being here, Bethany.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kimberly. And I'm also a coffee fan too.
Coffee is life juice, right?
Yes. It's
I
the
live on
essence.
coffee. Well, why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Bethany Gettis. I used to be a nurse in the industry of helping people lose weight before, and I help people holistically now. And I'm a holistic nutritional consultant. I have two boys. They are 6 and 8 years old, and I'm also a widow as well.
Well, thank you for taking time to be here. I know with kids, with littles, sometimes
Hmm.
it's hard to, space out that time. I totally
Yeah.
get that. Mine are grown, so I don't have that as much, but I have a grandson. I'm figuring out what boy momdom is like.
Oh yeah. I got
And
two.
boys are very different than girls.
Yeah. Lots of
Very much
energy.
so. Oh, yes. I see my little grandbaby run around, and I don't know. They
Protect.
need to bottle that stuff up.
Well, yeah, you need to protect your stuff in your house. That's all I can say.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, tonight we are going to discuss failures. I think every single one of us, especially as women, we take failure personally.
Hmm.
It's not that a group failed, it's not that something just didn't work. It's we failed. We dropped the ball.
Hmm.
I mean, am I the only one that feels that way?
No. I think a lot of women struggle with this. There's obviously people that are on your show that are in business. There's a lot of women that are mothers who feel like this in relationships. People feel this, friendships even. And yeah, the last few years have been tough for a lot of people because it's really challenged all those aspects. Possibly feeling like you've lost your job, you've got your kids at home, so maybe you're yelling at your kids even more so. Yeah, they're in your space and relationships too. Everybody's like living, pretty much in each other's pocket, right? So the last 2 years have really tested a lot of people and friendships too, right?
That is very true. And even, when I was getting ready for tonight's episode, I didn't really take into account how much impact the last couple of years has really had on a lot of it
Yeah.
because we are, living on top of each other. We are, it's been a whole dynamic shift,
Hmm.
and I, now that, this is thought is like going through my head, I'm thinking about even myself, the different areas where I really struggled with not taking them as a personal, a failure as a personal attack.
Hmm.
That's interesting. Like I never even thought about that.
A lot of people don't give themselves credit when you're under massive amounts of stress. And obviously, I became a widow in 2018, so this happened just before COVID for me. So I had already been through like a lot of life's challenges and already had the tools to go into what we're going through now to kind of use them all over again. So I know a lot of people, this is kind of the first time that maybe they've had the most challenging times. Like this is affecting everybody and all over the world. And, if you're let go from your job, some people feel like a failure. At home and you're struggling with the relationships within your family life, some people think like, I can't do this. Like I was used to a completely different life. Like it's affected everybody. And I can see the depression, anxiety is really high right now for everybody, even coming out of this.
That is so true. And I'm
Mhm.
I'm going to use myself as an example. I always use these episodes and I share from a very personal angle.
Mhm.
Just recently in November, I caught COVID. That's why
Mhm.
I'm on oxygen now. It COVID hit me in a way that I had not been hit before, and I ended up, they had to terminate my position at a company that had worked at for 6 years.
Mhm.
And even though in my mind I knew that that was probably what was going to happen because I couldn't do my job anymore,
Right.
so I knew it was coming. But it's still like the day that I got that letter, I cried when we had to go and pick up my belongings from the business where I worked. I couldn't even go in. I
Yeah.
had my husband go in because I felt completely defeated in that moment. And it took a lot, and talking to my husband, definitely, he and I have that relationship that we talk about everything.
Mhm.
But having that, just a way for me that worked for me to process all of it and look at, okay, so this didn't, this is what happened. This is hard. It sucks. But now I can do this, and this. I was able to kind of focus on where's that silver lining.
Right.
And I think that's what we really need to do is find the good in the failure. And I'm sure
Yeah.
that's so much easier said than done.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think when people are given something really difficult in life, the first reaction, yes, it's going to be a human being reaction. You're going to cry, you're going to get upset, you're going to get mad, sad, all those things, all those emotions. And it's okay to feel that. You don't want to live in that though for the rest of your life. And I think once you kind of get up over that first hurdle of hurt and despair and a fear of what's to come next, the big thing I found is that you really need to take the small baby steps in order to get yourself up every day. Because the problem is, um, we need to pay attention to the thoughts going on in our head, because that's where it starts. If you kind of say like, okay, like for example, like you said, the job wasn't there for you anymore. If you continued every day, like, oh, it's something to do with me personally, like you kind of start taking on and you're like telling yourself these tapes that aren't true. And it's like any aspect of your life, right? Like say your kid is struggling at school and you start to think, oh, it's my fault or whatever it is. And as women, we seem to sort of take on this emotional load, whether relationships, jobs, friendships, children. It's our thoughts start to create our action. And the thing is with that, our thoughts can be either healthy or not healthy. And it's going to serve us in one way or the other way. Which way do you want your ship to sail?
That is very true. And as women, we are more emotionally invested, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Because women have that emotional aspect that we become very. God, I don't even know how to describe what I'm thinking. It becomes part of us
Right. I think women
very
in general have a
quickly.
very big need to please. So it's kind of, women, we take on, I think, a lot more stress and we think, oh, I'm supposed to, take on all this because I'm running the family or My partner needs me right now, or my kids need me. And it's almost like you're putting this giant backpack on and it's weighing you down. And almost how much can you put on your backpack until you're like smushed in the ground and you can't move anymore?
I completely agree with that. And
Yeah.
so let's talk some ways to kind of embrace that failure because, again, easier said than done.
Right.
It's really simple for me to sit here and say, embrace your failures. But unless we give people tools to do that, then people get left sitting in divine why.
Right.
So, what are some of the tools that you would recommend?
Okay. I have three. So what I kind of did when I went through like the biggest, what felt like a failure in my life, even though it wasn't, the biggest thing I think I first leaned on was gratitude. And I know it's easy for people to say, well, that's a bit silly, like how can you be thankful in a time that is like, I couldn't be thankful that for this. Again, like you said, you have to find the silver lining, even if it's in your day. So, you got up this morning and you put your makeup on, you got up and you ended up calling a friend that day, like something that is, it's not going to be hugely significant when you have hit a major roadblock. So you have to start looking at the small little things that has got through your day, because again, the world can really bring you down. Like everything going on right now, even all over the world, like, you hear about the news and everything. And it's really easy just to put the cover over your head and go, I don't want to get up and I don't want to have to deal with my life.
Hmm.
So the big thing for me was, listening to sort of affirmations in the morning and also at bedtime. That really helped me, because I found for me, and I think a lot of people have the same issue, is a lot of people do pretty well in the morning to sort of mid-afternoon, and then they kind of hit this plateau of like, I just kind of, my day has not been that great. So that's when I think getting to the evening, a lot of people start to get stressed out even more so. And you want to make sure that you're actually listening to affirmations more so in the evening. And I used to do that just before I went to bed and even while I was sleeping sometimes, because it kind of reaffirmed like, well, what am I grateful for that actually happened today? That was something really small. And then waking up with these, morning affirmations as well really helped me kind of get more prepared for my day, because it's so easy just to sit up in your bed and go, well, I don't even want to like deal with this right now. And what do I have to be grateful for, right? Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Give me one quick minute.
sure.
Sorry, I just had to let my husband know that our Chinese food just got delivered. Uh,
Dinner's always
so
good.
yeah, that makes perfect right. That makes perfect sense, and I I love what you said about affirmations
Mhm.
because it is one of those things that I'm actually in the process of redoing my office. We're going to be moving stuff tomorrow, and that was one of the things I really wanted to focus on is how can I really get those encouraging messages in. And me being the craftsy person that I am, I actually have been collecting different affirmations that I love that speak to me, that serve me purpose. And I'm
Mhm.
going to cross stitch them and
That's
cover
awesome.
my wall in them. But it's
That's great.
finding I love that's what I love about affirmations is you can see them in so many different places. A sticky note on the mirror,
Right.
a note in your wallet. There are so many different ways that you can implement them. And I definitely agree with what you said on, that timing of not just morning, but the
Yeah.
evening, because I feel like, by the time you get home from work, you've made dinner, you've, done the dishes or whatever you do in the evening for yourself, for your family and your
Mhm.
household. When it's all said and done and you sit down, that's when you start decompressing.
Right.
And that's when you have the replay of the day in
Mhm.
your head. And that replay can be tragic.
Mhm.
it can take you down 5 notches if you let it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
having those affirmations towards the end of your day as kind of a reminder that you are enough, you are talented, that type of thing is very powerful.
I love how you said, like, cross stitching it because you're obviously crafty. So I like the audio for myself. So again, it depends on the personality. And some people, like, I print mine off and I laminate them. I put them on my bathroom mirror. So everybody's a little bit different, which is
Hmm.
great. So if you can listen to them or cross stitch them or put them up on your wall or put them in your wallet, like, there's so many different ways you can get those in for sure.
Well, and I'm going to take this even a step further. I have gone as far as one of the affirmations that I stand on is tattooed on my body.
There you go.
It's
It's
on my back,
permanent.
so I can't see it, but it is there and it's not moving.
Yeah.
I cause, and it my the tattoo literally says, "My past does not define me," because I've got quite the past. I'm not even gonna try to hide that.
Yeah. I like the notion
But
though, because it's on your back and it's behind you.
exactly,
Love it.
exactly,
I love
and
that.
it was one of those things of when I got it, I knew how important it was
Mhm.
because we can take those things forward and we can let that rule our future,
Yep.
or we can take that step and say, hey, look, I screwed up today. I missed this meeting. I burnt dinner, but
Yeah.
now I know. Finding just that little glimmer in it, even if it's not, you're not throwing yourself a parade,
Yeah.
you're not busting out the pom poms, but that little glimmer.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I would even recommend is, especially when you're first in that stage of, really working on doing that healing and finding those glimmers and not dwelling,
Mhm.
journal,
Yeah, that's a great one.
journal, 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 especially like right before you go to bed, even if it's an audio journal on your phone. Because
Mhm.
I lay in bed and play on TikTok or whatever. Take 5 minutes and build yourself up
Definitely.
at the end of the day. This went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong, but this is what I got out of it.
Mhm. That kinda goes into, the second thing that I wanted to mention was the
I
self-care.
would highly recommend that. I think that's huge.
Yeah, definitely the journaling. I think that's part of, I think, the self-care, which is what I would say number 2 would be, is, yeah, that form of journaling. So it's almost a way of kind of like releasing, like, word vomit kind of thing, like you're releasing kind of your day. And again, you don't wanna dwell on what's gone wrong, but you wanna also find the pieces of the day that went really well. So this is where I think self-care comes in, because I think a lot of people, when they feel like they're failing or they failed at something, the self-care kind of goes out the window because it's like, oh, well, now I've messed up, or like, you start putting yourself last on the list. And I know a lot of women seem to do that, and then they start prioritizing everybody else. And self care is huge. So, journaling could be one of them. Quality time by yourself, maybe if you do enjoy that kind of alone time, or quality time with a friend, maybe doing something nice for yourself. A bubble bath is, if that's what you enjoy. Getting some good dinner like you did tonight, like for yourself. You don't want to cook. So, how can I sort of like make my night good? I still want to eat, but can someone else cook for me? Right.
Right.
So, that's kind of putting more care into like, what can I do to sort of de-stress and make sure I'm taking care of myself, like I'm still meeting my basic needs. And do something like that for yourself. I think that's really fundamental for people, and that kind of gets thrown out the window, I think, when people feel like they kind of start getting into this beat up mentality of themselves, like, I don't deserve this, or I shouldn't buy that for myself because I don't deserve it because this and this.
Hmm.
And that's totally the wrong direction, obviously, that you don't want to be going in.
And I think you honestly just read my mind there because That's exactly where I was thinking of.
Yeah.
We get into this lane of feeling like we are not deserving
Yeah.
of self-care. We don't deserve to feel good. We just failed at this. With how dare, you know, I try to feel good about myself. And that that mentality is just so damaging.
It is. It can be destructive.
It really can. And so I I love that you went there with that because I think, a lot of us forget that we are still important and
More so.
still deserving.
Hmm. I think it's even powerful, even in those times, to be more um, giving yourself care because you want to tell yourself it's okay. Like, I made a mistake, I'm human. And to keep going, like, would you treat a friend or a spouse like that, right? Like, no, you're going to be that shoulder to cry on and say, it's okay, like, get back up, you can do this. But we don't do that to ourselves. We don't go, it's okay. Like, if anything, we beat ourselves up even more, right?
Well, and even, compare it to how you would your child
Hmm.
or, your nephew or when they're to walk, they're going to fall. Say, oh, you failed. We are going to help pick them up and help them to try it again.
Hmm.
If we are willing to do that for a small child, why are we not willing to do that for ourselves?
Yeah, we're a lot harder on ourselves for that, aren't we?
We
Yeah.
really are. And if what I read this summer, I can't remember where I read it. It's been so many years ago that I read it. But the basics of it was if somebody treated us the way that we treat ourselves,
Hmm.
would we be friends with that person?
Yep, it's very true.
We're
Not
we're so
likely.
forgiving.
Yeah.
Well, we do have so many people that we forgive. And
Hmm.
it's so easy to forgive Sally down the street because she hurt our feelings and said something that was off color or whatever, but we won't forgive ourselves
Hmm. Because
for doing the
we
same
put
thing.
ourselves at a higher standard, I believe. So, how could I do that? How could I mess up? But you're human at the end of the day, and you're not going to live a perfect life. I can guarantee that.
100% agree. 100% agree. Go ahead.
I was going to say the last one, probably what I would say is kind of what ties into the beginning of this is using that failure as an opportunity for growth. To step outside of your comfort zone, to do something that you've actually never tried before, and don't be afraid of the word no. So, what I mean, like, don't be afraid of the word no is if you're running a business, no to a lot of people is like, oh, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Just because somebody doesn't want to hear what you have to say, there's tons of other people out there. Like, you have to just keep going and dust yourself off and keep going and get back up.
100% true there. 100%
Hmm.
true. And I've gotten to a point, and I've been working on this for years. This I didn't get to this point overnight, but I've gotten to a point where I almost want somebody to tell me no
Hmm.
because I get to take something away from it. And honestly, I did this project um, 5, 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago,
Hmm.
actually, I could say. It's called a rejection assignment.
Mm-hmm.
and you put yourself in a position to be completely rejected.
It sucks.
Whether it be going to Starbucks and
Yeah.
asking somebody to buy you a cup of coffee or whatever, because of that assignment. And I was in church leadership at the time. My pastor slash best friend gave me the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, I got a husband out of
Ah.
it. Honestly
Love
and
it.
truly, that is how I met my husband,
That's
was
awesome.
by putting myself in a position to be rejected.
Wow.
And I encourage everybody, honestly, to do this, to put yourself in a position, whether it be asking a stranger to buy you a cup of coffee, asking somebody to pump your gas for you. It doesn't have to be anything huge, but put yourself in a position to be told no.
Right. Because it stops you being afraid of failure.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I love
But
that.
yeah, that's actually how I met my husband. I
That's
kind
great.
of love it.
Aw,
We
that's
have a
great.
very unique story.
That's awesome.
Well, Bethany, I want to thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with me. I definitely think there are some great takeaways.
Yeah.
I'm going to, again, encourage everybody, put yourself in a position to be rejected. But
Mm-hmm.
when you do that, go home and, kind of meditate on
Mm-hmm.
what feelings you had and what good you got out of it. Because you're
Definitely.
going to have negative feelings when you hear the word no, but
Yeah.
it's going to trigger something.
Yeah.
And that can be a positive thing. And write down what that positive was. And I'd love to know if anybody actually does the rejection assignment and okay, guys, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I'm hoping we didn't lose Bethany. Um, my internet just completely went out. And so I'm hoping that we can get Bethany back on here. Um, try to send this over to her. I'm hoping that we can get her back. Hopefully, this is going to work. Oh, I hear her. You're
There-
back. My internet just went out completely.
Oh no. That's
We
okay. It's a failure.
right? It is a failure. And what did I
We're
learn
giving you
from
an
it?
example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Positive out of it is we are moving my office tomorrow right next to my router. So I will be if I need to, I can hard line into the router and
Yeah.
not be on Wi Fi.
There you
See?
go. There's a pure example
Positive
for
out of the
you.
negative.
Love it.
But what I was, how I was ending it was I was going to ask you a question that I ask everybody who comes on my show. What do you love about yourself?
Oh man, what do I love about myself? That's a tough one because when you don't ever think about it for yourself, I would say probably how strong-willed I am. Because I've been able to get myself through some really, really hard challenges in my life, and I think it's because I'm very stubborn.
You
Yeah,
know what? Being stubborn can be a good thing. It really
yeah,
can.
yeah.
Well, everybody, I want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight, for having this conversation. Again, do hashtag rejection if you choose to do the rejection assignment, because I would love to know what you did and how it worked out for you. I hope everybody has a great night, and I will see you all next week. Stay happy, stay safe, and know that you are loved. Bye, guys.